Good morning. Financial Fridays. We're at Coast Neck General Store. It's kind of packed in here today, so there's like a lot of noise nearby. But what I want to talk about today, get ready, is
Throw me a curveball?
well, I don't know. Like, what happens when your business downsizes, or there's like layoffs, or your company closes, or things like that, or for some reason you lose your job unexpectedly, and you don't have like a year's worth of money in the bank to support you? Because I always feel like the advice people give is make sure you have a year's worth to handle unforeseen things. But I think that nowadays it's not so easy to have a year's worth of money backed up. Okay,
Right.
what do you do?
Well, one of the things you have to do, there's a series of changes that you have in life. Whether you own your own business and your business doesn't have a regular cash flow and there's fluctuations, or you lose your job and all of a sudden your job is lost, or you're retiring and you think that the money that you made all of a sudden is going to change because now you collect. So one of the things that you have to do, mandatory in any sort of planning, is to put a budget together. You need to understand. Most people don't know how much money they spend every month. They live. Think about whether you're affluent, have a lot of money, or a little amount of money. A lot of people live hand to mouth. You tend to live to the amount of money that you have in your pocket. So I got people make, $50,000 a year and get by, and I got people make $500,000 a year and they still do the same thing. And you tend to live. You fill up the oxygen in the room. You spend what you have in your account.
I feel
it's
like
human nature.
I feel like it's the same thing when you're first dieting and you first start tracking your points in Weight Watchers.
Same
when
thing.
you first start
That's
tracking,
a calorie budget, right?
Yeah,
or a carb budget.
Oh, right, and I feel like it's the same thing, Morning Tina. I think it's the same thing, like when all of a sudden you start tracking how much money you spend. Like yesterday, I thought I didn't spend any money, but I went to the dollar store, I know, and all of a sudden at the end of the day, I started the day with a $100 bill. I never usually use cash, but for some reason, I used cash yesterday, and at the end of the day, I had 69 cents left. Like, how did I spend all that money? It's just that if you're not tracking it.
But the key is to know. The key is to understand.
That's my point.
So
The
there's
key
two
is to know.
things. There's sort of operating money that you need to live, oxygen to live. And then you got disposable income, the money that you spend on the dollar store, and going to the movies, and buying, whatever, a Starbucks $4 cup of coffee. Those are disposable things that you do with it. So one of the things that you do when we do any kind of planning, especially retirement planning, is you got to put together a budget. What do I spend every month? What realistically? What's my rent or my mortgage? What do I have to do for insurance? What do I have to do for the basic fundamental things? It's like when you run a business. There's certain SG&A expenses, standard, general administrative expenses that I have to pay every month. And then there's those things that fluctuate every month, depending on what I'm doing. So the thing is you can go online and find a worksheet about what your budget looks like every month. You need to understand what it takes to live with oxygen, right? And then what it takes to understand what those discretionary expenses are, the movies and the Starbucks. Listen, maybe you got to go to McDonald's for $1 instead of Starbucks for $4, but you can't make those decisions unless you know and have some sort of numbers in here. So go online, find a worksheet, or get your worksheet, whatever. But I do this when I do retirement plan. This is what I do. When somebody's stopping working at, like, let's say they're 60 to 65, and thinking about, okay, I'm making X number of dollars a year. What happens if I stop? I got Social Security coming in. I got a 401k. Or I got some money on the side. How do I get all these? How do I get this change in my life? In this case, it's retirement, but it could be a job loss or a business going down or whatever. We mandatory that everybody that I work has to put together this worksheet, and they're shocked.
But how do you keep your why of like why you're doing it? Like even at Weight Watchers, I keep bringing it back, but I feel like that's budgeting.
No, money and calories are pretty synonymous to analogies, right? It's spending.
And I'm all about
Some people
the
are fat
food.
cats and fat weights. Some people are fat cats and money weights.
There you go, and I like fat cats from Rutgers. So basically, how do you feel rewarded when you're budgeting, and it's so tight that how do you get enjoyment if you can't afford to get there's a social aspect of getting a cup of coffee.
Right.
How do you get that?
You don't know unless you have that baseline. You don't know whether you're rewarding yourself or not with those things. like, some people, it's unless you have some sort of measurable thing that you know, just put together basically. It could be done on the back of a cocktail napkin, or just you got to be able to figure out what's my rent, what do I spend on food, what do I have to spend on insurance, the basic fundamental. And until you know what that is, you don't know whether things are good or things are bad. I got people walking around making $500,000 a year that don't think that they're wealthy because they didn't measure anything. They don't know. They feel like they're still living hand to mouth. You tell that to a $50,000 person, like, what are you talking about? How could you possibly? Of course, they're not organized from a money perspective.
I have to say,
just like calories. People that aren't organized calorie-wise are all over the place. If you're going to stick that egg McMuffin in your mouth in the morning instead of a granola bar, granola bars aren't even that great either, right? But if you get, this is irresponsible spending of calories, right?
Right. So
irresponsible spending of money.
I
Same
do
thing.
feel that when I kept track, I really did lose weight, and then at the end of the week, I would buy myself a lottery ticket, like if I kept as a reward. And I don't know if that's like a good thing, but I think you do have to set up some reward that if you follow this budget and you stick to this budget, that you get some rewards. I think.
But that's vacation. That's what people do for vacations. That's what people do when they buy themselves a new television.
I know, but I think they have to have small ones too. Like a vacation costs a lot of money, so you might not get that for 6 months.
Do you ever go on a diet and all of a sudden have to treat yourself? Like you can't like when you like giving up carbs. You can't like totally give up carbs, but like once a month, if you want a piece of bread,
as I bought a bagel,
but you know, that's your reward. But you can't do it every day. But you can have that bagel once a month or whatever.
Right.
Just the same thing as a television. The same thing rewarding you a that Starbucks cup of coffee. I mean, think about how much money people spend on Starbucks. You stop at Starbucks every day before you go to work. You spend $5 on a latte, skim, mocha, chino, whatever you're gonna buy. I mean, you're spending $25 a week on that. That's $100 a month. That's $1,000 a year. $1,200 a year. That's a lot of money. It's a television set, right? There's little things that you got to be conscious of.
I think
because
that's
those little
the key.
things add up, just like calories. Just like calories add up.
I think that's really true. I think that what we're talking about here is self-awareness in. This is not a stable table.
Not a stable table. Right.
I think you have to be aware of what you're spending, and I think that we're talking about self-discipline, and I feel like everything that I've achieved in life has taken self-discipline. And so what I think we're talking about with budgeting too,
whether it's school or whether it's work, or whether it's calories or whether it's money, all those things require structure and discipline on some level. And if you don't, then you're going to be fat or sad or
poor or
jobless.
broke. Exactly. So on a happy note is that it is very rewarding when you reach your goal weight, when you reach your goal budget, when you reach your goal anything. And I think that starting today, I think everybody needs to have some discipline in their life, because I think that it's very easy to fall out of it. Some people are naturally disciplined. I'm not one of them. I have to schedule things. Now with my new book coming out, I schedule 2 hours a day of writing, and I stick to it, and I'm pretty prompt about my coffee time. I stick to it because I know that I work better in a disciplined, structured environment. I don't do well in a free-for-all.
Think about this. In a garden, weeds grow by themselves. If you want flowers to grow, or you want some sort of like nice looking thing, it takes work, and that work is discipline. Weeds grow in human nature, in your brain, negativity, things happen. But weeds grow by themselves, flowers take work and discipline. That's what it takes to have a nice garden. Whether that garden is your wallet, or your calorie count, or it takes that structure. And without it, on some level, you got weeds.
Okay. Here's to weeding your garden. Have a really great weekend. I'll speak to you on Monday. Bye.